Welcome back to episode 2. I wasn't planning on releasing another Leagues episode anytime soon, but I was blown away by the amount of support I received from the first one, and I had to make another. So thank you to everyone who subscribed and left a comment on Lazy Leagues. I really enjoyed hearing from you, and I hope I can interact with everyone even more. Now, on to the video. I just want to start off saying that I am so deeply sorry. I am a dirty liar. Not only have I been doing my League's homework, I've also been putting in a ton of time into the game because, frankly, I'm having a blast. Everyone else in the community I've heard from is also feeling the same way, and it seems like every day people are getting much more excited, and the sheer level of wacky exploits and strategies I'm seeing only fuels the fire. So much for taking it easy and being lazy this league. Today, we're going to go over what I've been doing for the past week and see how much progress I've come up with. I hope you enjoy, and don't forget to let me know how you're feeling after the first week down in the comments. Ladies and gentlemen, we have just acquired our second Relic. Now, this was a pretty tough choice. I read over both relics a few times, and to be fair, they both sounded good. At first, I was leaning towards Globetrotter because thinking about the main game, I feel as though I use the jewelry box much more than I do fairy rings or spirit trees. However, after seeing people unlock it and most of their choices not being available because of their region choices, made me think it wasn't as good as I hoped it would be. I ended up going with Fairy's Flight because not only are the Tool Leprechaun teleports pretty overpowered, I just think it'll help us with the future relics and strategies I have in mind. Also, shout out to this tweet I saw the other day for all you Globetrotter pickers out there. I hate Twitter, but lately it's been pulling its weight. Yeah, I think we're going to go Kandarin right now. Alright, lock it in. Second region. Quick little plug here for the Leagues Discord. This is a wealth of information for anything Leagues related, and I definitely recommend it for anyone who wants to get more out of their experience. They have tips, guides, resources, calculations. They have a section where you can find groups and even voice chats, so I highly recommend it for now and any future leagues. I will put a link in the description and also a short little starting guide that I use to get going, because sometimes the beginning of leagues can be overwhelming, so definitely check that out if you're still new. Alrighty, that is going to be our third relic unlock. And I know this is a very controversial choice, but I'm going to have to go with Banker's Note. I think it's going to be good for the long term, especially having unlimited food. The only reason being because I think it's just going to be so overpowered everywhere else. When I was considering both of them, the only good thing I can think of with Fire Sale here is that you're basically going to have unlimited money, but it also makes money useless at the same time. So it kind of is like a catch-22 situation. And for that reason, I'm going to have to go Banker's Note, just because I think bossing with Banker's Note and just skilling, doing anything with notes is going to be so much easier. So we're going to go ahead and pick that. That is going to be our third relic. And we also get the Crystal of Memories, which is going to be huge, because teleporting up to now has kind of sucked, to be honest. But that is today, the end of Leagues Day 2, and we have exactly 1,200 points.
Day 3.
So Day 3 rolls around, and this is when we start to get the ball rolling on a lot of different skills and start making some plans for the long term. I did some early skilling and even grabbed a few pieces of gear like the Rune Plate and the Ardy Cloak 1. Once the early game is out of the way, things will be a lot less basic, and we can start making better goals once we've established things like a source of supplies and decent stats. I also went ahead and grabbed 99 Thieving because honestly it was just so easy to AFK, and it gives us a great cash stack that will probably last the entire league. On top of this, we also got some great runes, plenty of diamonds for bolt tips, and a huge stack of wines. Well, it's time to make the biggest decision all league. I've given it a lot of thought, and I still don't know what the best one is for me. On one hand, Archer's Embrace would be helpful in almost all content, and the bolt procs from this would be absolutely huge. It definitely would dominate. If I went with melee, I would get the 50% damage reduction, which would be absolutely huge and would make a lot of content easier and more approachable, and I also feel like I gravitate towards melee the most. However, there is no denying that Mage is an incredibly strong pick and can be used in almost all the content in the game. My original plan was to go Zaya, but seeing a lot of people go Desert and use Ancient Magics is very tempting. I think I'm going to go with the Mage pick and change to a Desert strategy. I know that this is following the crowd a little bit, but I'm curious to see how far we can go if we play into the meta a little bit. Mage will be pretty good early game, and things like Jad and God Wars will still be pretty decent with Mage. I will also get access to the Narda statue, the Leviathan, and of course, Tombs of Amasket. The desert is not my favorite area, but I think we can get a decent amount from it. This decision is based purely on me not being able to decide between the 3 relics because they are all so good and there is no wrong pick. So I opted for a relic that is getting the most attention so I can experience it myself. Now that our chosen combat relic is obtained, it is time to start fleshing out our account a little bit more and bring our combat stats to a respectable jumping off point. The best way to do this is by finally starting quests. Quests are always my least favorite part of leagues, and they have always held me back on my previous grinds before. However, I've never used the Quest Helper plugin, and honestly, I don't know how I lived without it. It made things quick and simple without having to read a bunch of guides to slow things down, and honestly, I'm looking forward to quests and seeing all the ones that we can actually do in the regions we've picked. And now that we have some good starter quests done, we no longer feel like a walking liability. Are you ready for this? We have our next region ready to be unlocked, and this time around, we're going to go with Asgarnia. Now you might be asking why I didn't get Desert yet, and honestly, I don't think it would matter. My thoughts are it'll be a little easier to complete tasks if we do Asgarnia first, and I think having that region will help us with a few quests, as well as some items that'll be a lot easier to get. So day 5 comes around, and we buckled down pretty hard. I worked on getting 40 base stats, and more importantly, getting some decent gear so we can start getting some more serious tasks done. I would say the hardest part is trying to remember what goals we have, because as soon as you start doing something, it quickly snowballs into 5 more tasks, and you can easily get sidetracked and lose your momentum. But I am happy to get all these early game formalities out of the way, because once we get all the little things done, the grinds will be much more exciting. Here comes relic number 5. This is a toss-up between either Treasure Seeker and Bloodthirsty for me. Infernal Gathering doesn't seem all too useful and would quickly fall off in the endgame. I was a little torn about what to pick, because on one hand I feel like Slayer is not as prominent in this league as it was in the past, and I think Bloodthirsty would help with that grind. But I'm going to have to go ahead and choose Treasure Seeker, because leaning on this will allow us to get many more points and make clues a lot easier, which is a big win in my book. On top of that, we also get another XP multiplier, and our minigame points will go up as well. This is just a quick little public service announcement. Make sure you set your F keys like I forgot to do. Thank goodness I was only doing a quick mole kill and not something a little bit more serious. I feel like I always forget little things like this, so if you're like me and you forget everything, make sure you go do that now so you don't kick yourself later. Well guys, that just about wraps up for week 1. I think we did pretty good for our first week, and we definitely made some tangible progress. We have 40 base stats, we have rune tools, some starter gear, and our points are looking pretty nice as well. Now that we have some entry level things done, we can start looking at bossing and checking off some more serious tasks that will get us even closer to that 13,000 point goal. Oh, and by the way, a good tip is to make sure you come here to the Sage and Lumbridge and make sure that you toggle on Vial Smasher. I promise this will be really helpful in the future for anyone who's never tried it before. And speaking of smashing things, congrats to Old School RuneScape for breaking 200,000 players this week. A huge milestone, and I can't wait to see what our favorite little game can do in the future to wow us even more. I'll see you next week.